Today, I'm speaking with Alex from E4 Electric. He has a thriving YouTube channel about electric cars and kind of everything around the industry. Now, electric cars are fascinating, obviously. They're not a new technology, but the industry is relatively new. And this whole channel is dedicated to news, kind of highlights, and just interesting happenings. And there's so many fascinating updates that Alex covers on E4 Electric. The channel has over 170,000 subscribers. It has over 34 million total channel views. He's doing it right. Alex, thank you for being here today. So your channel, E4 Electric, why did you get into this in the first place? You've kind of been in and around Silicon Valley for a long time. Again, looking at your fascinating employment history. I grew up in the Silicon Valley, so I'm kind of aware of the culture there. Obviously, electric cars, kind of Tesla. It all seems very relevant. And now you have a YouTube channel. So can you kind of take us through your origin story and how it led into E4 Electric?
You know, much like a lot of YouTubers who are full-time YouTubers that I know, I never planned on this. I have never planned that, you know what I should do in my 40s is become a social media influencer, something that all 17-year-olds want to do, and I'm going to be making money and traveling around the world with it. That's an awful plan. Much like almost everybody who I know who in their 30s and 40s and 50s who are full-time YouTubers, I also don't want to say I fell into it. I saw an opportunity and I took it as a business person that I am. But, you know, back in the day, actually been just almost a decade, no, more than a decade, in 2012, you know, I was shopping for a new car and I was always blessed to be a software engineer in Silicon Valley, making good money, always drove nice cars. So I was shopping for a new nice car. And I realized that I'm really, really, really bored of them. I mean, the technology that they put in this $100,000 cars are from 10 years ago. There's just, you know, the BMWs have the same orange, you know, thing that they had for God knows how many years. And I was just getting really bored. And it was still good money that I was paying for cars. So a friend of mine had a birthday party for his 13-year-old kid. I knew him since he was born, essentially. So, and the kid goes like, "Hey, why don't you buy one of those Teslas?" I'm like, "Listen, kid, no time for this nonsense. I'm not buying some weird electric car technology from a brand that's just about to go belly up from some guy who made a little payment system online. There's no way. And this is like $200,000. It's like, no. It's now they're coming up with this 4-door sedan. I'm like, you know, just go play with your toys. And a few days later, I mean, I really was desperate. My lease was expiring. I was like, I don't know what I want. There was one of the first Tesla showrooms in San Jose, California, and Santana Row. You're probably familiar. And I was like, you know what? I'm desperate enough to walk into this damn thing. And I walked in and I had an impression, like I had this moment where I think all of us had when we saw an iPhone, right? The first iPhone was like, oh my God, like this is what phones should have been a long time ago. And I had the same epiphany with a Model S, Tesla Model S. It wasn't on the market yet, so I put my deposit down and I became one of the first 3,000 people to buy a Tesla Model S. And, you know, at that time, you have to understand, it was not a cool thing to do. Like when you got the first iPhone, everybody thought I was an idiot. Everybody, my friends, my family, everybody. And when I bought Tesla stock, they definitely doubled down on that. So, I was like, you know what, I was really big into Facebook, not on Facebook, but into just Facebook. Every move I made, I checked in with Facebook. So I loved it. It's before it crapped out, right? But it was good. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to make a Facebook group for those idiots like me who drive these weird cars and wave at each other when they see, you know. And, you know, I made a group and it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew and it got to like 10,000 people. And I was like, I have 10,000 people who paid $100,000 for their cars. I would be an idiot not to somehow monetize it. And at that time, I was already dabbling in YouTube a little bit. I had a men's fashion and dating type of a channel. I was like, I know a little bit of YouTube, and you know, Tesla's got a lot of interesting news coming out. You know, I'm going to do a 60 seconds per week quick service for my YouTube group, for my Facebook group with a YouTube channel. So I started that, and out of 10,000 people, 50 showed up and subscribed. I'm like, oh crap. All right, well, I like doing it, so I'll continue doing it. And then I actually ended up doing a collab with a bigger channel and hiring this guy, not known at all, Nick Nimmin, one of the biggest YouTube coaches now.
Yeah, he was
approaching,
on
I think, million subscribers for himself, to kind of guide me through this. And little by little, it started getting into some point where I was like, this could be something, And at some point, I ended up saying, and this was actually a very important moment. People think that the most important moments is when you hit a certain amount of subscribers or get the first brand deals. And those are important. Don't get me wrong. I think the moment that I had was I wanted so badly. I'm going to sacrifice a lot in my life. So I sold my Teslas. I moved from Silicon Valley into a house in a very average, and I'm being generous, house in Sacramento that I had. I stopped going out, period. I learned how to cook, and I started living on, I think, like $2,000 a month. That was all my channel was providing for me at that time, which was still pretty good. But mind you, I lived on like $10,000, $15,000 a month because, I was in Silicon Valley. So that was what Gary Vee calls eating shit. So I ate shit for about a year, and I put all of it into my channel. That was, again, it wasn't from zero. It was generating something, and I had some brand connections and deals and works. And at some point, I got that big sponsor to pay me that big money, and had other sponsors where I was able to make the same amount of money as I was before in Silicon Valley. So I know I went on a rant, but this is really, in a nutshell, how I started.
Mm-hmm. And who was your first big sponsor?
Byton, the only electric car company to go belly up. Everybody else survived. Companies that were literally like, no way. They died 3 times like Faraday Future, but they survived, and Byton went belly up. So, but hey, at that time, they gave me a 5-digit a month deal. And that's what got me through everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, how did it feel to get that first big brand deal? Like, as you said, as Gary Vee says, you ate shit for a while. You you just streamlined your finances, essentially. And you dedicated, it seems like, pretty much everything to E4Electric. Like, how did that feel? And how many hours a week would you say you were putting into this during that time?
Well, I've always been putting a lot of time into this because it's essentially a hobby that I'm getting paid for. So like even right now, I haven't had a day off, not that I want to, but I think in about 6 or 7 weeks. Like I worked till, yesterday was Sunday. I worked till 2:00 in the morning because I wanted to. I'm so excited. I barely could fall asleep. I was so excited about what I was doing. I think that's the only way to do it, actually. But, how does it feel? Listen, these big deals, people think that you call up a big company and they just throw a pile of money on you. This deal was a 9-month frustrating process. 4 of them was dealing with their, Chinese-based attorneys that are not nice, So no attorney is really nice when they're, trying to create a contract. But, the cultural differences were also rough. So by the end of the 9-month negotiations, it was kind of almost like, well, it was kind of like, yeah, of course, this happened because I worked so hard for it. Now, it doesn't mean that usually happens when you work hard for it, but it wasn't like overnight, wow, I can't believe this happened to me. It was like, yeah, it better. You know what I mean? So there was no butterflies in the stomach because of how much hard work, I had to put in, and all of those butterflies have flown, out long time ago. So I think if that's how you get fuel for your stamina to do this, you're not going to last very long. I mean, obviously money is important, but that's why it's important not to make that much, but to spend little. Right now, I'm completely redoing my channel. If you notice, my views are down, my videos formats has changed, and I can talk about it. But the reason I can afford taking 6, maybe 9 months to revamp my channel like this is because of the way I run my finances, which I pay myself with a 1-year delay. So it's not about how much you make, how big the deal that you made. It's how I always celebrate when I get like right now I'm a digital nomad, when I get a very cheap Airbnb that still has an amazing $5 million house shower, like, so it felt okay. Sorry for not a very
No,
the
I
answer you were
think
probably
that's
looking
realistic.
for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially. So, how long were you eating shit, so to speak? Like a few years?
So definitely 1 year. First year was definitely, like I love going out, not just because I love restaurant food, which I do, but also I work from home like a lot of YouTubers, and I like to be out because I'm an extrovert. So that was rough to, and it was rough not to be able to get a hot chocolate at a Starbucks because I was on a strict budget. And so about a year. After that, I started eating out a little bit more. And I bought a car that wasn't a Chevy Volt, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my Chevy Volt for $199 a month. But, things have started to really come around. It was a Volkswagen ID4, and Volkswagen sponsored my channel. Also, it was a good income as well. So a year, I say, so 2 years of doing it on the side as a hobby, and then 1 year of eating shit. And then after that, I have to say, even though there were ups and downs, but overall, my life has been amazeballs, like for the last 3 years.
Hey there. You probably know the Video Creator Show is brought to you by VidChops.com. What is VidChops.com? Well, it is an editing service that will take the horrible burden of editing off your back. We all know video editing. It's tedious. It takes forever. But what if you had a professional who did it for you? You go to sleep, you wake up, it's done. Wouldn't that be magical? VidChops.com. Hire a professional, save yourself time and energy, and take your YouTube channel to the next level. That's beautiful. So, walk us through your channel revamp. Like in kind of before we get into that, I do want to just let people know. So your editing is pretty, it's complex. Like there's a lot going on. I can tell it takes a lot of time. It sounds like you edit your own videos. I know video editing is very much on your resume. So like, just for those listening, he puts a lot of time into his videos. And I'm curious, like, what does this revamp look like? Like, how did it look before? What does your channel look like now?
So thank you for a compliment, because I do not edit my own videos. I could not edit my own videos, not just because I don't have time. Literally, I just can't, I just can't edit that well. I have 2 amazing editors, and they edit my videos, and I can't do it as good as they can. And basically the rule of any business is, if you can afford it, you as a business owner should not be doing any jobs that someone else can do. You should only do things that only you can do. Otherwise, you are a bad businessman, right? Or a woman, whatever. So, I have a researcher, I have 2 editors, I have a graphics designer, and when I travel, I have an assistant. So I don't do jobs that someone else can do. And honestly, I'm still, like I said, haven't taken the day off in many weeks because there's so much for me to do. Now, the reason I needed to do a revamp, I mean, most channels go through ups and downs because it's not like a job at a factory where you can have one skill and you're guaranteed a 30-year career. Every 6 months, something changes. So, I started with a Tesla news, and then I, switched it to all electric car news. About a year ago, 2 things have happened that made it impossible to be a successful electric car news channel. One, electric car news became shitty. They used to be like, oh my God, look at that amazing prototype with all of the things it's going to do. It's going to drive itself and go into space and all that stuff. Oh my God, everybody loved it. But now it's like, oh my God, this brand we love just screwed half of the customers, or made a car that took the important feature out, still charge doubled, and then there's a recall because the wheels are falling off. And by the way, I'm not even making this shit up. So the news became extremely negative. So your audience, who always liked you because that you brought them all this exciting news, now are thinking of you as, oh my God, you hate electric cars now, Alex. And I'm like, no, 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 I'm just a messenger. I'm just like letting you know now that these cars are actually being made and not just being paraded around at car shows. There are problems. They never made electric cars before, even Tesla. Tesla's got more problems than anybody if you think about it. So that was number one thing. But secondly, I had access to all, like CEO of Rivian and Lucid and all these brands, that would invite us to media drives and everything. But because nobody else wanted to cover this little crappy electric cars that everybody thought were crappy. But now Car and Driver and Motor Trend and all of these big boys realize that this is the future, and now they are the ones covering it. So there's plenty of other major publications doing a much better job than a one-man show can do out of his Airbnb. And secondly, of course, they are now getting all of the exclusives. So I don't even get to be the first one to drive the car or be at the event. So I had to pivot. Now I pivoted to a wrong thing. I decided I'll be a critic because there's so many things that are not being covered as far as the issues in electric car industry. And that was not the right thing to do, because in order to be a critic in this industry, you're now becoming a tiny little niche inside a still very small niche. So 7 people and your mom are interested in that because only like so many people know what Rivian is. And even a smaller amount of those people want to know what's wrong with it, So now what I've done is I'm actually taking a master course from probably one of the best YouTube coaches out there, Daryl Eves. And I don't want to obviously disclose this is actually quite expensive course, but basically it's about figuring out, like, because, YouTube Studio gives you so many stats, you're completely lost. Which stats you need to look at, and then what to do about it. Right? Because we can all go back into our stats and say, oh, I see. I mentioned my mom here and everybody laughed because they wanted me to talk about Elon Musk, right? But what do you do about it? Well, don't talk about your mom next time around, right? Like that's as a lesson.
Right, sure.
But how to analyze it, and also just a lot of things that kind of blew my mind. And what is it that YouTube algorithm, and essentially what's supposed to represent the audience, wants? Now I've learned a lot. I'm almost done with that class, but that's what I'm doing to revamp my channel. I have I can share you one thing, because I did pay $1,000 for 1 hour of consultation with Daryl Eves, and it was worth every penny. Believe it or not, it's the most that I've ever paid per hour to anybody, including during my dark past, as you mentioned. So what he said is this. He said, Alex, now Daryl doesn't curse, but I'll tell you the gist of it. Alex, you are so far into the future, you have no fucking clue what's going on in the present. And you know what really drove that point home? I just arrived in Houston, Texas, because I decided to leave California. I didn't want to live there anymore. And I arrived in Houston, Texas, and I went to a car show. And I realized that here people are on the level of where we were about 10 years ago in Silicon Valley. They're just only now learning and even seeing electric cars on the streets here. They have questions that I thought we were all over like 5, 6, 7 years ago. But the videos need to be made for them, because the majority of people are only now discovering electric cars, not to like the Silicon Valley types that know everything about electric cars. So therefore they are interested in news and criticism and know all of these brands. So what I'm revamping my channel into the audience of people who attended the Houston Auto Show, right? Those guys who just realizing that, electric truck, not a bad thing. It's very interesting. It's got some things your gas powered truck doesn't have, but I have questions, So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm pivoting my channel to people who are just getting to know electric cars and explaining to them what the frunk is, right? And why they're the fastest cars, like a 4-door electric sedan can go faster than a $2 million Bugatti, right? And of course, my current audience doesn't want that. And I don't want my current audience. I'm tired of them. I don't care what new color Tesla came up with this week. I don't care what new chemical they put into the new battery so it gives you a longer range. You know why I don't care? Because none of those people do. None of the people who just trying to live their lives, get their kids to school and themselves to their jobs, care about what kind of batteries are in their cars, just like they don't care what kind of batteries in their phones, by the way. So that's what I'm pivoting to. But I've done the pivot before. It's painful. You have to do it. But there will be glorious times as well. Like a year ago, my channel was just on top of the world. So that's what my pivot is all about. And you have to do it. Otherwise, you'll be done, just like with any business.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So since you're good at delegating tasks, like you have editors, you have an assistant sometimes, and like when you are in the middle of a pivot like this and you're trying to figure out, or I mean, you already have figured out how you're pivoting. Now it's a matter of the kind of day-to-day deciding what exactly to cover, gas versus electric cars, the money savings, kind of basic concepts like this that appeal more to the general population versus like electric car enthusiasts. So you have your category down. Now, what does your day-to-day look like as the person at the top of this channel that's running the show? Like, how do you find topics? How do you delegate your time? Like, what is a day in the life of like for you?
So right now it's not very typical because the class that I'm taking, it's like 3 month long, and it's taking the majority of my time. It's that intense. Once I would be done with it, obviously I'll go back to my regularly scheduled sort of production. But first thing that any of these classes, if you're taking a real master class, and definitely including this one, first thing they will ask you is to write down your goals. And you'll be like, okay, well, I want 1 million subscribers. They're like, no, not those goals. Like, how do you want your life to be, right? Like, for example, I don't mind working 60 hours a week, but once I have a girlfriend again, which seems to be impossible in America, that's why I'm actually moving out of America. She would be a normal person. She would want a weekend or a vacation, and I would need to be a normal human being and accommodate that. So, for example, my goal has been, because I used to make up to 3 videos a day, 3 videos a day every day. Now I was making 2 videos a week. But now, because of the class, I'm only making 1 because it doesn't really matter until I finish the class. I technically don't really know what I'm doing yet. So no point of producing more than I need to. But I might just stick with 1 because not only my quality has gone up and will continue going up. I do want a weekend to myself sometimes. I do want to actually be in bed when I'm sick with 102-degree temperature. Instead of like, no, I can't. I have shit to do. So there are some life goals that go on top of your subscriber income goals and so forth. They are connected. I think what's going to happen is that I will be spending more time writing the scripts. I'll spend a lot of time analyzing my previous videos and how they're doing. I'll spend a lot of times keeping up with what's going on in my niche and how YouTube is treating, who are they promoting. They have a great way to do that, actually quite genius way to do that. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be concentrating more on analytics and quality of the videos. And, my YouTubers, for example, my editors, I asked them to learn a few extra skills. I have given them access now to a paid video, photo, and sound library so they can do more effects. They can have more stock footage. And, I also kind of asked them to do their own thing. I said, listen, here's a script. Before that, I would write every single thing. Well, at this point, this red car should appear and do this. I'm like, you know what? Make it great. I think I trust you right now. And they have. So I will be delegating that. My researcher will probably, they all have a much easier time once I have a content strategy, right? That's important to have. And once you take this class and once you realize there's only 5 or 6 categories, type of videos you should be making, those topics will pop up on their own, and they shouldn't be tied to news in general or even trends most of the time, because you want these videos to live more than a week or so. That was my biggest problem. Every video only lives for a week, and after that, nobody cares about it because it's literally old news. So So my day will be my week will be a little bit more chill. I would have a day or two off. I'm moving to Thailand, so obviously I would love to explore not only the Bangkok, which is humongous, but Thailand and all of the countries in Southeast Asia, and I would like some extra time for that. So life goals will lead to your YouTube goals. I'm also lucky that honestly, I'm looking around in a studio, and I love it. I can afford probably a 3-bedroom house in terms of Airbnbs, but I'm renting. But you know what? It's got everything I want. I absolutely love it. It feels like home. So I don't have a high budget. Also, I stopped buying $100,000 cars. Right now, I drive a $40,000 car, $35,000 car, and I'm hoping not to ever drive again if I end up living the rest of my life in Southeast Asia. I think it's a humongous waste of human time. And a huge addition of stress and other problems in your lives is actual driving. So I'm going to link my lifestyle goals, and I have, with what I want to do with my YouTube channel. So I don't need to earn $100,000 a month. Honestly, if I can earn $10,000 a month, which thank God I can't even now, and especially because you don't have to pay much taxes overseas, you can have a very great, amazing life if you're like me, who does not require a huge house, an expensive car, Gucci shoes, and all of that other stuff. So it's also like, I can't stress this enough. It's not really how much you make, it's how little you spend and still be very, very happy with it. All of my possessions, besides actual houses that I own, my rental properties, everything that I have can be fit into 3 suitcases, period.
Wow.
Period.
So
hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. It sounds like your day-to-day right now is kind of half developing your personal life, half developing your YouTube channel. Kind of in the past, it seemed like it was much more work-heavy, whereas now it's still work-heavy, but you are more concerned with kind of how you feel on the inside versus kind of this external goal. Is that safe to say?
It is mainly my YouTube channel right now, I have to say, but it is definitely for the next month. It's going to end in about a month, where everything that I'm doing right now is setting up for a new lifestyle and a new YouTube audience. But right now, it's all about YouTube. But you're right. It's just about to start having a really good life-work balance.
Mm-hmm. And so with this course that you're taking and all of this new information that you've been taking in on making this pivot happen as well as you can possibly make it happen, like, what do you think is your main driving force here? So you kind of have your new category of content. You are trying to make evergreen videos they have a more general appeal, but and you've been also helping your editors to add new effects and learn new skills and sort of increasing retention that way. Is there anything else about your pivot that you think is really important that you haven't talked about yet? Because I think managing a YouTube channel in these high-level decisions can feel kind of daunting to people. So I think having somebody who's going through it right now, who's been through it before, I'd just like to hear as much as possible about that.
Well, honestly, I do have to say this. I do have a lot of things already down. My editors, one of them has been with me almost 3 years. My assistant has been with me 4 years. My new editor is great. He's been with me for a year. So these people, and my researcher, I've been working with them for, I think, 4 years. Even before I hired him to do my YouTube channel, he was doing something else for me. So 5 years. So I've worked with these people for a while now. So we are a team, and they're very reliable. But I also know how to hire people. And I also know when to fire them. I have fired people before. So that's very important, to keep good people in and bad people out. And that's probably good life advice in general that I live by. So, we all need to develop together into better editors, assistants, researchers, and YouTubers. So my management skills, as far as how I run this, are actually quite good. My bottom line is great because I do not hire people, except for my assistant, obviously, in the United States. I hire them in Philippines and other countries where you can pay less for a much harder and better worker, honestly. I keep going with this one because it's a big part of my life right now. I'm leaving United States. You have to understand, I'm an immigrant of 30 years. My family came here for a better life, and I'm leaving after 30 years. So like my trust in hiring someone in the United States who would be loyal, good, an affordable worker are pretty much down to zero. I've been very happy with people who I've hired literally all over the world. Literally all over the world. So, I hear people saying, well, I'm so proud that all of my teams in the United States is like, you're a great person and a shitty businessman. Like one of my, I would say not competitors, no competitors online, another channel that does very something similar, they pride in that, but then the host of the channel completely always complains how little they have left to live a life on, and then they can't afford much. So, at the end of the day, bottom line is the goal is always to make money, not just to buy stuff, just because money is the reward points for you to gather as a businessman, right? That's how you measure your success. How successful you are in business is only with money. It's not with subscribers, by the way. Like, well, I don't know, it's a podcast, but I'm showing you my play button, the silver play button of 100,000 subscribers. I wish when coaches show this to their audience, they need to immediately like burn it. Now, I'm not going to burn it just because it impresses girls when they come to my place, but generally speaking, that means nothing. I dare you to go to your grocery shop and have a full, cart, shopping cart full of milk and bread and cookies and try to pay with your subscribers at the checkout. They always denied that, right? They always insist that you pay with US dollars or whatever money currency you got. So at the end of the day, I'm sorry to say it, it's about the money, not just so you can spend it, but so you earn it, and that's your worth as a businessman. Of course, like in my niche, you can't make $10 million a month. You just can't, no matter how good you are. So there's obviously a range. But I know how much I made per subscriber per year, and I'm very proud of that. It's probably top 5%. So there are little victories you can still be very, very proud of.
And can you talk about your monetization model? Like, obviously, you have some sponsorships, you have merchandise, your beautiful shirt, and like, talk about how you are reaching those great numbers.
Yeah. So I got to tell you, I am a much better, I think, businessman than I'm a YouTuber. Because the money that I made on this YouTube channel, somebody just told me that I make like 4 or 5 times more per subscriber or per view that they are, and they're in a pretty good niche. Now, there's a few things. First of all, I did, like, when me and Nick Nimman, when he was coaching me, I had 3 different channels, and we picked this one about electric cars, not because it was just a growing thing, but also because, brands that will sponsor my channel, we knew it, would be brands who make as small of a product as a charging station for $1,000, or as big of a product as a car for $50,000 or $100,000. So, I, with very small subscriber count, I believe I went full time when I had only 30,000 subscribers. I can make much more money than a makeup girl with 1 million subscribers, because she's selling $7 lip gloss kits or whatever, and I'm selling $50,000 electric cars. Now, this is where, by the way, I disagree with Gary Vee, which I know it's kind of a rough statement, but
Scandalous.
Huh?
I said scandalous.
Scandalous. But, a lot of times he preaches that, hey, go and call 1 million big brands and one of them is going to reply. And the fact is, it's like the same thing as it's not going to happen. I can call every single Victoria's Secret model and ask her on a date, but 0 will say yes, no matter what. Same thing there. Do not go and call these brands out of the blue. You have to physically go to the car shows and physically make friends, for the lack of the better word. All of my big brands have been big brand deals were a result of my personal connections with the brand. Volkswagen would never sponsor a small channel like me. I dare you to find one. They just don't. They're just not worth their time. It's not worth their time in the views I was going to give them. But I just happen to be in a good relationship because we met one time and we had such a great conversation into the night. And, I was with the CEO of Volkswagen of America. Now, he's no longer Volkswagen CEO of America, but at that time, that's why I got the deal, right? Same thing with, I shouldn't probably name because it's one of my current sponsors, but it's also because, we just hit it off as people, right? And by the way, you can't ask the CEO to sponsor your channel, by the way, because it's not their job and they have nothing to do with sponsoring your channels, right? But it is overall a good standing with a company. And obviously when they see you that you're on good terms with the head of the company, the marketing department might say, all right, okay, but that backfires as well, because I've been told sometimes to tighten up some of my wording to the point where I wasn't really that excited about it. And I'm like, well, why? You guys are sponsoring this other channel and their wording is all over the place. They're like, yeah, but our CEO only watches yours. And it's like, oh, well, that's okay. That's why I got the deal. But God damn it, now I have to follow much tighter guidelines because literally the CEO of the company watches it. But my point is, I know I'm probably kind of appearing like I'm bragging, but I'm really trying to make a point that you have to make friends with the brand. And a lot of times it's the people who run the brand or run their marketing department. Now, my personal rule is never make friends with assholes. Like I have passed on probably a lot of money because I did not want to be friends or friendly with people who are assholes. But a lot of times these people, they're amazing people. They're running these companies for a good reason. They're good leaders. They're innovators. And I'm fascinated with it. Every time I'm in their presence, I'm a better person in so many different ways. That's why I like to be friends with people with those brands. But it's all about personal connections, like a lot of times I don't even talk cars with them. I talk about their kids or how they grew up or how they got to where they are, right? The success stories. I can get the car information from their press release because they wrote it. I'd rather find out how in the world do they manage a car company and still are good fathers and mothers and wives and husbands. To me, that's much more interesting and fascinating. But that creates a bond, right? That creates a good relationship. So also, now that's obviously not enough. Also, I have created a way how I guarantee my sponsors the views, right? Because with at least when I was doing the news, most of my views came during the first week of the video. So I said, listen, you advertise with me for this amount. I guarantee you that I'll deliver this many views of videos that have integration of your product. And a lot of times, they were like, oh my God, like nobody does that. Of course, we know when we spend money with you, we know what your demo is, what your demographics is, and we know exactly how many people will be reached. And I always over deliver. I mean, I had like 1 million view guarantees that I've delivered 1.5 million, views. So these brands definitely get their money worth for sure with me. So I've also developed that system after failing at a few others. And I also only do long-term deals. I never do this one-off, let's do a video together and we're done, right? I always tell them, listen, it's at least a 3-month deal, but I'm not even that interested in that. It has to be at least 6-month deal. I want a partnership. I want a relationship rather than a one-night stand. I sound like a chick now on Tinder, but there's something to it when it comes to a partnership with a brand. And the brands that are sticking with me right now, even though a bit tough times, right? They're all of the brands that they've been advertising with me for now 2, 3, 4 years. So they know, and I know them. We've again good personal relationships with the head of those companies. And they're sticking around. That's what's financing my channel right now. These deals with brands that know I won't screw them at the end of the day. Yeah, my views are down right now, but I will absolutely distribute them correctly and deliver on what I promised.
Mm-hmm. So when you're negotiating these deals, like, so let's say you have a 6-month contract that you're negotiating for, and you promise a certain number of views. Like, let's say, with where your channel's at, you're getting less views than is ideal. Like, would you be willing to keep making sponsored videos for a brand that goes beyond the initial contract in order to make the views that you promised?
So the deals that I make, so when I sell 100,000 views per month package for 6 months, it's actually phrased in a contract that I'm selling them 600,000 views for 6 months, right? So I can deliver 10 or 20,000 views per month in the first couple of months, and then deliver 1 million views in the next, or 300,000 views in the next month. And that's had happened. One of my sponsors that signed up for 6 months, I've delivered all of their views in one video because that video just blew up, right? So I just now it's all free views that video is getting for them. Now with a couple of them, I will be late on delivering them, but I always put in a contract that, hey, if I somehow miss a mark, which I haven't yet, I might, I will continue giving you views and making more videos to make sure that I end up delivering it, even though our contract is over. I'll continue doing it to meet my requirements. So basically, the rule is just don't screw the people. Like, don't screw the brands. Make sure you deliver and make sure you're fair to them. Now, my next deal will be a series of dedicated videos without a view guarantee. So that's what I'm doing for now, because I can't really guarantee any more views because I don't know how many I will be getting. And that's just kind of how I pivot with advertising right now. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes total sense. And you're definitely flexible with the times. I think your strategy too is, I mean, as you said, is pretty unique. Because usually, in my experience, YouTubers, they will kind of go for a 1, maybe 3, maybe 5 video deal. But it is just based on the video. It's, hey, this is my price per video. Maybe I'll give you a deal if you sign for multiple videos. But the view guarantee is kind of rare. I think you're the first I've heard to really talk about that. I think it's a fantastic idea. I think, you do want sponsorships to trust you. Like, sponsors, they are taking a risk, obviously, by giving you money. And the less they can worry that, is this video going to get 5,000 views? Is it going to get 5 million views? When you can just guarantee that, I do think, like, I see why this has been working so well for you, and is probably refreshing to them as well.
Yeah, and I just want to mention that these view guarantees are not of dedicated videos. The video can be about Tesla, and it's a 30-second integration of a charging station or of a Volkswagen ID4, right? Which is not only, it costs less, but people who may not know about some charging station brand would never search for it because they don't know that it exists, but they sure want to know, because if they're watching a video about a Tesla or any other electric car, this is definitely something of their interest. So I bring much better quality leads to these brands, right? Because if you're making dedicated videos, somebody has to search for it. Somebody has to say, oh, I know, I heard about this. Let me find out more. Where I bring them people who've never heard of them. And those are much more valuable leads. So kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And that's where that's why it's been working for me. And I have no clue why other people did not just steal this from me.
Well, maybe they will. I mean, it's a great idea. Like, seriously. And, I think it would be better for the industry as a whole. I figure, like, the more sponsors trust YouTubers, the more sponsorships there will be to go around. This seems like a rising tide floats all boats kind of scenario, in my opinion. So with where you're at now, you are in the middle of this pivot and you are gearing up to move out of the country. Do you have, what is your future scenario? Like, are you just gearing forward with this pivot? Do you have another channel that maybe you want to make? Do you have any kind of big future plans that you haven't talked about yet?
I would love to have another channel because I would love to talk about relationships between men and women in America. But that channel will be that will probably get canceled within about a day or two. So I'm not going to start that channel as much as I want to. So that's a moot point. Also, I really want to concentrate on the channel that needs all of my time. And that's what I'm going to do. I think my move overseas will not only make me a much happier person, I think. I've been quite jaded here in the last few years, I believe, especially living in California. And believe me, this has nothing to do with politics, by the way. But it will probably give more meaning to why I'm working so hard every day. Which is, I have a meaning now, but it will be a much more desirable life, at least I think, for me. Who knows? Maybe I'll hate the sunny beaches and beautiful women, and I'll come back to here. But who knows? But I think that I will be a better person because I'm going to a culture where it's a happier culture. People are more respectful and courteous to one another, and it will make me a better person. And you will see that in my videos. I think it will see in even topics of my videos. So I think at the end of the day, not only will give me a great meaning to why I'm doing all of this, a new, better meaning, I should say, but it will also kind of recharge, pun intended, myself and my channel as I'm pivoting.
Mm-hmm. So it seems like your biggest goal right now is personal and kind of getting that feeling of meaning in your life, which I do feel. I mean, ultimately, that's all that matters, right? If your life feels meaningful and you feel fulfilled, then everything else is kind of secondary. YouTube success or money or all of these things are trying to fill the meaning requirements for life. And it could be surprisingly difficult sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the meaning for my YouTube channel has shifted as well, right? In the beginning, it was about promoting this wonderful thing that will make people get less lung cancer, maybe help climate change a little bit, move us in create a better product and safer product with electric cars, with better safety features and can self-drive at some point, and kind of, us against the world and oil companies. And now where electric car companies have kind of become just as evil as the gas car companies, and Elon Musk has completely went off the rails, being from like a very respected, one of the most respected people on earth, the butt of almost every joke nowadays. Things have the purpose of my channel has shifted, right? I'm still trying to get people in to, obviously, but I'm all trying to help them to get in rather than convince them that they should. I'm also relying on my information being helpful rather than being holy. Like, you should come to our amazing universe of electric cars and this technology and green energy. So the purpose has shifted, but at the same time, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I am now putting more emphasis of what my personal goals are, as I think everybody should. And my goals are in my happiness and satisfaction with life rather than subscribers or even money, though you do need money to be happy to a certain extent, I think. But at the same time, that's one of the reasons I'm moving to Thailand, where I don't have to pay $1,100 a month for my individual healthcare plan, which, by the way, here in Texas, I can't even get. And I have to worry about it, and still get better medical care there than I do here in the United States. And I have like the best possible healthcare plan that you can get in California. So, and for many other reasons, you can live on such a smaller amount of money there and have such a happier life. I don't know if you know, but a Thai man lives longer than an American man, So there are good reasons for that, by a few years, actually. And that number is going up, where the lifespan of an American male right now is going down. So yes, the life goals should probably always be on top of your money and business goals. I mean, as long as you cover your basic expenses of shelter, transportation, and health.
Hmm. Yeah, it's once you have the basics covered, then everything else. I feel like once you have that covered, then it's a bit easier. It's much easier. It's actually possible to really consider kind of meeting what's important to me. Whereas before all that is covered, or if you're like constantly worried about it, it's in the back of your mind. It can be harder, I think, to make big choices, whether it's for a YouTube channel, for a business, for a move, or whatever. So yeah, I completely understand wanting to check out a different culture with a lower cost of living. And it's, I mean, the apartment I'm living in now is, so I moved out of California as well. I'm now in Oregon. And
Congratulations.
yeah, it's just a lot, it's less expensive here. And it has allowed me to relax and make it like I'm still working hard. But when I say relax, I just mean I'm not like wondering, okay, how am I going to pay rent this month? Or like without diving into savings. I'm thinking ahead as opposed to trying to figure it out right now, which I think is really important for overall life satisfaction.
Yeah. Now, I do want to mention that California was worth the money about 10 and 20 years ago. I was more than happy to pay much more than other places because it was actually worth it. At this point, it's just not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't disagree. Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the Bay Area. I lived in San Diego for 7 years and Santa Barbara for a few years when I was in college. And it's a pricey place and it's not quite what it used to be.
Yeah.
I think a lot of cities, especially on the West Coast, are probably like that. But in general, it's a weird time. It's like expensive, but also not, the culture isn't amazing anyway. It's a lot of the best restaurants are gone now. It can be very confusing. It's somewhat of a tangent off of YouTube, but it's an interesting subject.
Yeah. I do have to say that restaurants is the least of my worries. It's mainly people, but that's a whole different video.
Sure. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, so you did say that meeting people, like meeting people you like, working with people you enjoy and respect, is a big part of not just like your life satisfaction, but it's kind of like built into your business model in a way. You only make deals with companies that you like, and you, it sounds like, often meet them in person, perhaps at a car show. Like that, I think, is an authentic way of monetizing a channel in a way. Like if you give away too much of your integrity, let's say you're like, I don't like this company, I don't like this guy, but the money's really good. The more you do that, I feel like you do end up kind of corrupting yourself a little bit. It may be in subtle ways, but I've, I was 22 when I first started seeing success on YouTube. I made some decisions, not like out of the, maybe I did like a mobile game sponsor or something. But I find that kind of the more I do stuff like that, the more I'm like, it's fine, but I don't love it. The less I feel great about it, the less I'm able to kind of put my soul into the channel. And it's like a subtle thing that can kind of eat away at the process. Is that kind of how you view this, or is it a little different?
Absolutely agree. As a matter of fact, one of the biggest reasons I've lost views last year was because I was having this guest on for a while, and he was becoming very popular, and I had to unfortunately kick him and half of my good views out because he started to sell out to brands and not even tell the audience, my audience. But yeah, it's really easy to sell out. It's very easy. The money is good, and oh my God, they treat you so well. Those trips are amazing. But I mean, it depends on how you live your life, right? Like I just have a motto of just never lying. I just don't lie to anybody ever. It's just so much easier. Plus, I have a horrible memory. I probably would be really bad at it, but I just don't lie. So, like for example, I already love the topic of electric cars. I can talk about it like I talk about it to people all the time. And the camera is not on. There are no views, there are no subscribers, there's no sponsors. I just love talking about it. So doing it for a living is really not that unnatural for me. And same thing when it comes to sponsors. The products that I sell on my show for the sponsors are great products that I'm excited about. Like, for example, people move into a house and, they or rent a house and they can't afford to pay the landlord $5,000 to change the electric panel and install a charging station. But my product allows them to split the 240 outlet that already is going to the dryer into the one for their car. And the little thing understands when you do laundry and when you're charging your car. Like, what a great thing. Like, I love this product. So to me, it's not that difficult to promote it because I really do think it's a good product. When Volkswagen sponsored my channel, I bought a Volkswagen ID4 because I was so excited about it. Unfortunately, it turned out to be an awful car at the end of the day because of their software. But at that time, I really was excited and I bought it. I mean, I still have it, right? I have 2 more months to go until I sell it to go overseas. Bosley was one of my sponsors, right? But guess what? This hair here, I had my hair transplant with Bosley because I was like, I actually really thought that they would take advantage of it and I will be like forever sponsor. And I wanted to do it, honestly. But you know what I mean? Like when I say go and get your hair transplants as Bosley, like it's not because they paid me. Well, it's great that they did, but I actually did it myself. And I paid my own money for it, So like, I'm just saying these sponsors that I have, I'm really into my own sponsors. I'm excited about them, right? VinFast is one of my sponsors. Oh my God, Vietnamese company coming to America with these cars. Like it's amazing. I love it. The charging stations that I advertise, I love those. They are made by good people and these are good charging stations. You know what I mean? So if your heart is in the right place, I don't think it's that hard to stay true to the products, and your audience knows about it. Like I don't think I've ever been accused of selling something I don't believe in because I am so in with these sponsors. As a matter of fact, I'm offering right now to VinFast, as a Vietnamese car company, is to actually literally to move to Vietnam, because I don't care if it's Thailand or Vietnam, and do all of my videos off of their properties, because they also like hotels and resorts and stuff like that. And so they're in every video, so everybody wins. Like, and I'd be totally bought into it. So when you do that, I think it's quite simple. But if you're really doing it just for money and you need the money, then you end up selling out. They make it very easy for you, by the way. Like the guest that I had to kick out, my weekly guest, he is swimming in money right now and he doesn't care. And doesn't work for me, but a lot of people took advantage and they have no problems lying to their audience while swimming in money. And that's not for me, but I know you can make a lot of money doing that way.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely one way to do things.
Yes.
So we're approaching the end of our hour here, and I'm curious, what is your golden rule for growing a YouTube channel? What do you think is the most important thing that people should take away about getting subscribers, views, really just a feeling of success on YouTube? Like what is your golden rule?
The success on YouTube is kind of like if you follow sports, right? You're only a good player if you've been scoring lately, right? Same thing here. You are only a successful YouTuber for a while. But after that, if you don't pivot, if you don't keep up with the trends, if you stop understanding your audience, if you stop being plugged into the niche that you're part of, your channel will go down. And a lot of times it's natural, right? I mean, like I said, like in my case, I had to kick out the guest out of my channel, was bringing a lot of views because he was dishonest. The electric car news have shifted. So a lot of it wasn't something that I could control, but it is my job to keep up with it and react to it. So you're just never there. I think Lexus used to have this tagline, the relentless pursuit of perfection, right? You're always chasing it. You just almost never, you may be caught up for a little bit, but it's always moving. You always have to be on top of your game. So the answer to that is analytics. look at how your videos are doing, because what your audience wants from you now is very different what they're going to want from you even 6 months ago. You know, when the TikTok came in, right, that completely shook your audience. A lot of people were like, well, we don't want to watch your shitty 20-minute video when we can get it in 3 minutes on TikTok, right? So kept everybody honest. If you have a 20-minute video, you better have 20 minutes worth of actual good content. So things are consistently moving. So look at your analytics, understand what you need to look at, understand why people don't watch some of your videos, understand what's going on in your niche, and never stop learning. Continuously go and get education. There are tons of master classes like the one that I'm taking, or even cheaper, right? Sometimes you can just buy it for like $300. Absolutely go to Vid Summit or VidCon and go to those lectures and network with people. I cannot stress enough to have an accountability buddy, right? If you go to the gym, you have a workout buddy. It's like a YouTube workout buddy. I have one, and he's also a pretty successful YouTuber. And every week we talk about stuff. We keep each other honest. We analyze what happened last week. We make a plan for each other for next week, and we hold each other accountable the week after that. Absolutely have that. Be part of YouTuber Facebook groups. Be part of YouTube community. Be part of smaller groups where it's just 5 or 6 of you get together and just talk about something maybe once a month. Be very active. If you think you got it, if you think you got this recipe of making videos and the money's coming in and now you can go and chill at the beach, you're going to crash and burn. This is much like diabetes. This career is forever. You never just stop. Unless you want to, and then by all means, So yeah, absolutely continuously learn from other people and from analytics. That's what I would recommend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that is sage advice. It's so true. Like it never really stops. It's always changing. There's always more you can learn. And once you find something that works, it might work for a long time. But even then, I think micro changes, kind of improvements to editing or how you tell stories or kind of whatever it is, your niche. There's always little ways to improve upon it. And if your videos aren't noticeably better, 6 months from now, a year from now, then chances are you're getting a little stale. And you kind of always have to be aware of that. And I think that's the exciting and kind of scary part of YouTube that I'm glad you touched on here, because it is always changing.
Yeah, I want to correct you. I think this is kind of an important point. As you said, there's always something you can learn. I would like to upgrade it to there's always something you should learn. You know what I mean? Because can is optional, should is not. And I don't think education here is optional. It absolutely is required to have the continuous success on YouTube. And yes, you should absolutely barf by watching your own videos from like half a year ago or a year ago, because you're supposed to be improving that much every half a year to a year that when you watch your previous videos, you go like, oh God, this is embarrassing. Who the fuck let me release this piece of shit, right? So that's how you should look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, totally. And it's sometimes it can be hard to cringe at ourselves, but if you're not cringing at your past self, then are you really getting better? So with that, Alex, E for Electric, check him out, everybody. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. And whoever you are watching right now, I appreciate you. And thanks again, Alex.
This was fun.